Hello everybody and welcome back to 97% Fire. My name is Colin and this is episode 8 of our How to Build a Temporary Home Recording Studio project. We have converted our dining room into a live room and this small office into a control room with all sorts of acoustic treatments and speaker placement and things like this foam which control flutter echo. Now, during the process I've been researching different types of engineering, and some mixing engineers use headphones solely to mix, eliminating the sound of the room. Now, wouldn't it be good for tracking engineers if there was a way to make every single room sound the same? That way you would know where all the standing frequencies are, what the reverberation times and all the rest of it were. So I've invented these. I call them flutterphones, and they are guaranteed to make every room sound exactly the same. Rubbish. So, let's move that up there so you can see it. What we have here are our test recordings. There you go. As you're hearing from my lapel mic at present. So there is the bass. And there is the guitar. And there is the acoustic guitar. And all is well. So we've spent the last few weeks trying to get sounds from next door into this room. And now what we're going to try and do is get sounds from this room into next door. And the way we're going to do that is if we go to the mixer window and we go track, new, and then we create one new stereo aux track, and we can call this one headphones. Okay. And then somewhere, probably at the end, we have created a headphones. Now, on the old digital mixing desk, we have got 8 outputs. So, output 1 and 2 is the speakers, the master fader. And what we can do is we can select output 3 and 4 for the headphone mix. Okay, so if we mute this, nothing will come out of output 3 and 4 because nothing is routed to it. Okay, so what we can then do is we can go to, let's go back to the drums to start with. Okay, and we can send the drums to bus 1 and 2. Okay, and then we can assign the input of headphone fader to bus 1 and 2. So, in theory, we're sending bus 1 and 2. Let's just loop a bit of that. So we're hearing a high tom. There you go. Let's turn the auto read off. So, what we need to do now is to decide how much of that signal we're sending. So we're going to send this pre-fade. If I press Control and the blue arrow, I will get a mini fader. Okay. And then I can adjust the amount of signal that I'm sending to bus 1 and 2, which hopefully there is appearing nicely. Now we can't hear this because bus 1 and 2 is routed next door. I shall show that in a second. But what this means is we can then also send the click track to bus 1 and 2. And it's the same thing, just a level. We have a click track that we can control. Now, just to set this up, what I can do is I can change output of the bus from 3 and 4, which is next door, to 1 and 2, which is in here. Okay. So, then what I need to do is solo the track, so this is the only thing going to output 1 and 2, because everything else will also be going to output 1 and 2, as you can see there. Okay, and then that is fronting it out, so we can go through. Make ourselves a headphone mix. So if I'm the drummer, obviously I won't need a click track, but if I did, there it is. So I've got my click track. We can also pan this left and right. We'll leave it for in the middle for now, and then all we need to go through is drummer. So let's have a bit of kick. So it's not in time because the click track was not recorded with the drums. We just did those randomly because we could not send a click track next door, but now we can. So there we go. There's a rough drum mix, okay? And what we'll do is we'll stop the infernal racket. We'll take the solo off and we'll go back to output 3 and 4. So you should now hear the drums without the click track. And there it is. Now let me show you. If I loop a section of that, and we'll let it play. Okay. Now we go over to wobbly cam. Okay, so what is happening here is we have our main stereo outputs, 1 and 2, left and right, beautifully labelled. And they go up into the Mackie, there they are. So the black and the white cable through the floor, up in here, black and white cable, and that comes out the speakers. And we can also see auxiliary outputs here, and you'll see that auxiliary output A and B goes through a different snake, and that goes under the floor, through the hole in the wall. That comes out behind the guitar amp, behind the bass amp, past the mixing desk and into the floor box there. A and B, you can see are, hopefully, there, a red and an orange cable, and that red and an orange cable goes into the mixing desk there. You can see the red and the orange cable. Now I've labelled that. Let's put the camera down. Now that's been labelled Pro Tools cans. So first thing we need to do is turn on the mixing desk. And then we need to turn on the PA system, which is there. If I've wired it correctly, he says, then we should be able to get Pro Tools. There we go. So that is the Pro Tools headphones mix coming from those speakers and you can hear the click track, which is out of control, which is out of time. You've also got the control room, which is there. So left and right control rooms. So that is the main out control room. So that would be your mix. This would be your headphone mix with a click track, or whatever you decided to put on those channels. Alexa, play some funky 70s music.
Here's a playlist you might like. Rediscover the 70s. Funk on Amazon Music.
So we can also, Alexa stop. We can also have backing tracks, or we could play along with something, or if there's a reference track, say we wanted to record Dark Side of the Moon 2, we could listen to the original. So this mixing desk is actually broken. You can see there are some invisible faders here. But what I've done is, because this doesn't work quite as it's supposed to, if we put the main up and listen to the Pro Tools, that's the headphone mix with a click, I can take it out of the main speakers, put it back up, and I can send it through this channel, which I've wired into some headphones. There you go. Now those headphones are attached to, can you see them? The bottom of the hi-hat there. I'll just zoom in. So that is the headphone in, and they are the headphones. And that way we can play along to our click track, to our heart's content, and then we can also, once we've finished our musical magic, we can then listen back to the main output. Yeah. And just for fun, I've also connected a wireless microphone. So I'll probably turn the effects off a little bit. If we wanted to, we could record vocals, maybe in the downstairs bathroom. But I'm not going to sing to you. That would just be mean. So that is how we get the sounds from the control room into the live room. Right, let's have a quick look at patching. Wobbly cam again, apologies. So just a quick word on the Patchbay and how we're using it. I'm actually using this as a cheat, so I don't have to solder anything together. Now Patchbay is a quite old technology. They were used, I think, back to the 1800s. There was a guy called Ormond Brown Strowger, I think. He was an undertaker, and his business wasn't doing very well. And he discovered that the rival undertaker in the town where he lived in America, well, his wife worked for the phone company, and any time somebody phoned, she patched in his phone call to her husband, and he lost all his work. So he invented the dial telephone. Fun fact. Now, this Patchbay, if you're not familiar with Patchbays, basically inside there's a load of these channels. They're not dissimilar to straight connectors. Yeah. So you plug in something in the front, and you plug in something else in the back, and it links them together, like so. Now what these Patchbays have are various inputs, and what you can do is, depending on how they're wired, you can plug something into the front and in the back at the same time, and it will automatically connect at the loop, and then you can break the loop by plugging something else into the front, or join into the loop by plugging it at the bottom, and then inside you can change the wiring, so sometimes it cross over like this, all sorts of clever stuff. but all we're using it for is to semi-permanently connect two cables together. And the reason for that is because of this wobbly cam. Like most modern bits of kit, the patch bays are actually all digital. So you can see here we've got acoustic guitar high on channel 1, and you can see on the patch bay acoustic guitar channel 1 is physically plugged into here and is physically plugged into here. So I could move those if I wanted to by unplugging them, or I could press this magic button here and I can see the patch panel that shows acoustic guitar high plugged into channel 1. Now if I want it on channel 2, I just have to tap a button. So the way we're using our patch pay just saves soldering things. Now if I go to the hardware outs, you can see I have channel 1 and 2 here, and then I have aux 1. So later on I would like to get a headphone distribution amp which will allow you to do different mixes for different members of the band, and then have a little control pad next to their guitar amp or their bass amp. But since it's only me at the minute, the way we're sending the headphone mixes is fine. This is the aux send, so this is very similar to Pro Tools. So you can do yourself a bespoke mix on the digital mixing desk and send it to wherever your heart's desire. So this is the other way of doing headphone mixes. This mixing desk is actually primarily designed, I think, for live music. So if you're on stage, you'd have your main outs going through your monitors or your PA, and then you could do different headphone mixes for different members of the band, call them drums, bass, guitar, whatever. Could put a little bit of reverb in the vocalist's foldback for confidence, all that sort of stuff. Okay, just to finish off on this, for bus number 1, which we are using as a headphone mix, I should probably write that in. What you can do to save faffing, so the drummer, if it's a drummer's mix, might be very specific about what he or she wants. However, because we've done these folders, these routing folders, I can just send some acoustic guitar, or I can just send some bass guitar. So I can either send the bass guitar or not send the bass guitar. I don't necessarily have to do a bespoke mix of all 3 channels. And the same again for the lead guitar and the vocals or whatever you may use. So there you go, there's a quick, simple way to create a headphone mix if you've not got a lot of fancy gear. And also, of course, because we have the repeater screen, if I was next door playing the drums and I wanted a bit more of something or a bit less of something, I can access all of this in real time and pan stuff left and right and as I see fit. So the next logical stage for this project is actually to record some audio in the correct order. Now we can hear what we're doing from the control room. Now there's loads of ways of doing this. Do find the one that best suits you, but I have made this board. So these are all the award-winning multi-platinum songs that I've written but haven't recorded yet. And what I like to do is to, first of all, find out what beat per minute the track is. And then I like to record a guide track or a scratch track. And then on top of that I can do drums, bass, guitar, and so on. And this little chart here shows me where I am and what I've done. So the first thing we're going to try and do is record a scratch track for the song 21. So what we have done is I have just made two new tracks. One is called reference. So if you were emulating your favorite piece of music, you could put that in to your session just to give you something to listen to. See if you can match the feel, the vibe, the bass, whatever. But I've also made a new track called GTR Guide. So that's the guitar guide track. Okay. Which is there. Okay, that's just a bit of noise. This is a scratch track, so we're just literally recording this so we can have a hard copy of the song's arrangement, and then once that's recorded, we will probably put in track markers, and then we can start recording in anger. Now I'll spin you around, wobbly cam, sorry. Go that way. Hopefully you can see that. So what I have done is I have patched my electric guitar here that I'm holding. If I move that over, straight in to channel number 1 on the mixing desk. And the reason for that is because, as previously mentioned, channel number 1 has the guitar amp modelling on. So I have loaded up a Marshall stack amplification device. Just to give us a bit of signal. And that is, wobbly cam, brace yourself, going into Pro Tools. Okay, so if I've got the track arm to check for levels, I can just test to see if we're getting the click, which we are. So you're currently hearing all of this through my lapel mic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one verse and one chorus of the track. Right, hopefully you can see everything. Now, I'm only going to play a verse and a chorus. Don't worry, this is not a feeble attempt to relaunch my failed rock star career. So rewind, record, and I'll let it have a few bars before I muller it. There you go. So the first thing you can see is that signal is quite quiet, so I can probably turn it up a bit. How's that? But that will do for now, because what we're trying to do is to prove a concept. So I can disarm that, play it back. Hopefully it works. Lovely. Right, now we can pop next door and try and put some drums on it. Okay, so we have come next door. I have set up a loop recording. So that's recording me now. Waste of tape really, because I'm chatting away. And then what I want to do is, first job is to set up my headphones so I can hear it without losing my hearing. Hopefully you can hear that. That's from the headphones. Right, for the sake of doing 1,000 takes, that'll do. So we have got our new drums now. Which are okie dokie. Now what you can do, depending on the type of music you want to be working to, you can put on the grid function like that. So that's giving you a quarter grid. And what you can do is you can press, so I've selected the whole group here, so all the drums act as one, and then you can press the tab, and what that will do is tab to the transient. So you can see some of them are a little bit behind, some of them are a little bit in front, because I am not the world's greatest drummer. So there you go, that's slightly ahead of time. So what you can do is tab to your chosen transient, and you can press Apple E, Control E, there you go, and that will split the whole of the group. Okay, and we can do the next tab to the next transient and split the group again. Now what you can do is in multi-mode you can snap those to a grid, or you can time move them to the grid like that, so it's slightly more mechanical. So it will be perfectly in time, and you can go through loads of detail, sample by sample. It will be perfectly in time. It might not sound particularly natural, especially if you're a bit of a dodgy drummer like me. So if we go to the guide track instead of that, we can see they fit together. I don't know how loud that'll be. Give it a click. There you go. So that is the first stage. Obviously you would take more than 10 minutes to do that usually. Unless you are Dave Grohl, maybe you can do it that quick. So now we have a rough guitar, the makings of a drum kit, and what we could do now for fun is we could add the bass guitar on it. Why not? Let's do that. So the easiest way to do the bass just as a scratch track is just to go to one new, we'll call it bass test. One new audio track, create that, input number 1, because we've already got a lead plugged into input number 1. I'll sit that next to the guitar, so you can sit there, so solo. Just grab a bass, turn you around again, whoa, wobbly cam, wobbly cam. And what we'll just do is we'll go to, pick something random, Big bass, there you go, first one that comes up. Load that. Okay, so I go back to Pro Tools. That will do as a test. So we've got the bass, we've got the lead guitar, the bass guitar, and some form of drums. We didn't use that bass guitar because that's the one next door. Cool. Right, so let's see how that works. This is a mixed, okay? Okay, so that proves that everything works. That is, of course, all completely flat. There's no plugins, anything going on there, other than whatever that preset was on the digital mixing desk that I haven't used before. So that's a good starting point. So there we have it, something to play with. You can then start adding markers. So you can call that intro, for example, and then we can call that first one. And what you're starting to do is to build up your track. This is just in a rough guide. This is not by any means the thing that you will release to get your platinum discs. And then you can switch between the two. So if I wanted to play the chorus properly and in time, I just have to click on a marker and there we go. So that's probably it for this time. So we have got the sound from the live room into the control room. We can now get the sound from the control room back into the live room, and we've got references to go by. We have established that all our audio lines work and are recording in a manner, even if it is only very basic. And we've started to build, and we're starting to build the basis of a song. So we're looking at scratch tracks, drum tracks, markers, and so on. Until next time, thanks for watching.